In this video, I want to share my thoughts on Adidas X Carbon 3D 4D forward sneakers. We're going to touch on the technology and novelty of the sneaker, the quality and comfort, as well as the aesthetics, and my final thoughts. If you're somebody who is interested in the world of 3D printing, there is novelty or interest in the tech here because the midsole of the shoe is actually resin 3D printed. It's made of this bow tie lattice structure that is supposed to kind of distribute the force as you walk. I posted a short video on my channel a little bit ago unboxing these shoes. I just ordered and unboxed the Adidas 4D Forward 3D printed midsole running shoes, and I have to say this lattice is beyond impressive. They call it their bow tie lattice because the unit cells actually have a bow tie shape. The lattice itself is designed to be able to take our downward vertical pressure from our foot when we step and convert it into horizontal force, with the idea that our strides are a lot smoother. These midsoles are in collaboration with Carbon using their DLS, digital light synthesis technology, which is a variant of vat polymerization, a resin-based cured by UV process. So this is one of their custom elastomers that's supposed to be highly indestructible. Of the reviews I've read about the shoe, the fabric ended up ripping sooner than the lattice. Okay, editing Dora here, I thought it would be of value to do a deeper dive on the lattice of the midsole and the claims that Adidas makes in terms of their design reasoning and the overall performance improvements of the final shoe. So as we can see in this graphic here, and part of it is featured in the thumbnail, is that the isotropic nature of this bow tie lattice allows for when a downward force is applied, i.e. our body weight from a step, the lattice tends to deform more one way than the other, creating a forward force. Now, these shoes aren't anything new. They've been around for a couple of years, with this article out in 2021. I've recently just purchased these shoes and found interest in the whole development of them. Adidas iterated through 5 million possible lattice structures. Compared to their previous generations of this midsole, this new 4D forward one is able to generate 3 times as much forward motion under vertical loading in mechanical testing conditions. The 3D printed midsole has essentially allowed Adidas to create a shoe that can drive you forward. So when your heel strikes the ground, whether on the pavement or a treadmill, this midsole takes that vertical impact, braking forces felt by your foot, and converts them into a horizontal forward motion. What is a braking force? Well, a quick Google lets us learn. Braking force in running is that force that acts to slow down a runner, occurring from the moment that our foot hits the ground until it's directly under the body's center of mass, which we can see here. This right here is our centroid. Imagine a little 4D forward lattice under here helps not only convert this braking force into forward motion, but also minimize it by 15%. Now, given that I myself am not a kinesiology department at a research-based university, I lack probably the equipment required to quantify this improved forward motion. But out of curiosity, I asked ChatGPT what kind of experiments we could perform to see if running in the 3D printed midsoles actually improves that experience. So here's what it suggests. With and without the 3D printed shoes for comparison, we can try a fixed pace treadmill test or a fixed distance run test. I myself am not a runner. I don't know if I could make 5K, but maybe it's worth a treadmill test. I guess comment 3 running shoe emojis, or let me know down below if you want me to perform some experiments in the gym to see if I notice a difference moving in my normal running shoes compared to these 3D printed Adidas. Okay, let's talk quality and comfort. I find these shoes quite comfortable. There is some kind of cushioning thanks to this lattice midsole, which I enjoy. I wore these shoes all day. They're comfortable to drive in. They're comfortable to walk in. I was walking through the airport, through a conference, and around the St. Louis Arch Park, so downstairs, in grass, on trails. These are quite comfy shoes. I can do another review like a year later about how the comfort has changed changed with time of wearing these. One thing you should keep in mind if you do plan to order these shoes is the size that you order. So for me, I had purchased these shoes because they were on sale, and the men's version of these shoes was actually cheaper than the women's shoes. So I had purchased a size 7 men's, knowing I am a bit smaller than a woman's US 9. These shoes run big. I've noticed if you're planning to buy a men's shoe to fit an equivalent women's size, keep in mind that the shoes do run a little bit big, and as a result I kind of get this little bump right here. As the shoe is a little bit larger for my foot, I have to tighten the laces a bit more than normal. Now let's touch on quality. Other reviews that I have read regarding these shoes, most of them mention how the actual mesh or fabric of the shoe had gotten damaged or destroyed before the midsole of the sneaker. Now I can attest to that because already a few months in I snagged my sneaker, and I'll show you a close-up. I snagged my sneaker somewhere and I actually have a hole in my mesh. The mesh is very plasticky, so it's a bit of a rough hole, but considering all the different terrains and even in the gym I've used these shoes, I haven't had any issues with damage to this lattice structure. It still feels pretty much the same as when I bought it. And normally with like traditionally manufactured shoes, for example Converse, where you have that glued sole along the edges, you over time start to see like delamination between the midsole and the fabric of the shoe right where you bend your toe, and I haven't seen any kind of delamination like that yet. That's something to keep in mind. If you end up ordering these shoes, the mesh will probably suffer damage before the midsole does. Another comment in terms of comfort includes the shoelaces. Now I don't know if I just can't tie my shoes properly, but these shoelaces I've noticed are quite slippery, and so they stay tied better when I double knot them. That is simply an observation. I think it would be interesting if I tried to 3D print some laces, like an improved design of a previous CAD time video I've posted, and add it to these bad boys. Otherwise, I genuinely like the design of this sock-esque base of the shoe. There's some cushioning in this shoe back here that actually makes it very comfortable when your feet are blistered. Aesthetics. So these 40 forward Adidas running shoes are one of the many different designs that Adidas had come out with in terms of midsole, colorway, etc. Given that I wanted a shoe that would match with anything, whether that be an outfit to the gym or a conference outfit like how I wore them today, I was happy with a black on black look because they just match with everything and they stand out for themselves without being too distracting or loud of a color. As a 3D printing enthusiast, I wanted an accessory that I could wear practically that had a little 3D printing element to it. So if you're like me and you're a big fan of 3D printing, the technology, how far it's come, and seeing it in everyday objects like these shoes, I highly recommend purchasing a pair so you can experience what it's like to walk and run on a fully 3D printed midsole. My favorite part is when I'm teaching a course or workshop activity related to 3D printing and I'm wearing these shoes and I have a perfect example of an end-use application of resin 3D printing right on my feet. They're also a conversation starter. There have been a few times where I've gone to the rock gym in my city and somebody has this pair but in a different colorway. But all in all, I am very happy with this purchase. They're quite a comfy pair of shoes. I am, however, disappointed that I've already kind of ripped the mesh on this shoe. I will continue to be wearing these shoes, and if you're interested, I'll come back maybe in a year or more to let you know how this shoe has changed over time.